Hey folks, John Ferguson Smart. Someone recently asked me what is the best way to prepare for a job interview for a test automation role. And a lot of folk coming from manual testing, they ask me what's the best way to get a test automation role when you don't have any experience with test automation, because all these test automation roles, they ask for experience in a whole lot of frameworks, a whole lot of libraries, a whole lot of languages. If you're coming from a manual testing background, it's hard to show that. What I generally tell them is that the traditional approaches, which you see a lot of people doing, practicing for job interviews, learning job interview questions, doing all of that, I don't find that very effective. I don't teach that. Teaching that I find is unethical. I've seen way too many candidates who are very good at answering questions and, quite frankly, rubbish at actually doing the job. I'd much rather someone who is rubbish at answering questions but is able to understand the concepts, the fundamental concepts, learn what they need to learn, and show that they can actually have an aptitude to doing test automation. That is a much more powerful thing to show. But of course, then the question comes in, how do you demonstrate that? In a job interview, you need to be honest. You need to be able to say, I don't know that. I can look that up on Google. But what I do know is how to do this, this, and this. And to acquire those skills, the best way to do it is not by learning how to answer questions. It's by actually doing. You learn to do something by doing it. You need to practice the automation skills, building up the fundamental languages. Start with the language. It can be Java, one of the more popular ones, or JavaScript if you like. Start with something basic. Learn the language skills, and learn automation through what I call deliberate practice. Not just random tutorials, but you need a fairly structured program. There's a link in the video here where I came up with a roadmap for folk, a document for you to actually come up with your own learning roadmap, which a lot of people have found useful. I'm also coming up with a list of exercises, guided exercises in different languages. If you reach out to me, I can let you know when that will be available. But that sort of approach where you are deliberately practicing, deliberately learning, getting your head around these skills, that is way more effective than just learning a whole lot of answers to questions, just learning off by heart a whole lot of responses, and then getting stuck when you actually have to do the real work. Because it's the real work that will actually make the difference, will show that you are able to do that. The questions are not relevant if you can't actually do the job. So that would be a bit my general advice. If you can learn the skills, if you can deliberately practice, learn the coding languages, learn the automation tools, gradually, step by step, build up your skills, practice every day. You need to put some effort into it, but get yourself to a point where you are comfortable with the writing at least basic test scripts and basic test automation and building basic frameworks. If you can get to that level, even if you've never actually worked on a real project, you'll be able to say very honestly, well, I haven't worked on a real project, but I've done all these sample projects on GitHub that I can show you. I know how to build a test automation framework because I know how to layer it, I know how to structure it, I know how to describe the requirements, I know how to ask for the requirements and get the right feedback cycles, all of that stuff. There's a lot to it, there's a lot to learn, but knowing that stuff will mean that even if you come up with a question, even if you come against a job interview question where you don't know the answer, so some technicality about WebDriver or some such, it doesn't matter. You can say, well, I could Google that. That's not something I would know off the top of my head. But if I were building a framework, I would use layers in this way, I would structure my requirements in this way, and so forth. So show that you know the deeper concepts of how to get the job done, rather than the superficial answers. Okay, hope that was helpful. Thanks for listening.